हमारे किसान पुत्र श्री जगदीप धनखड़ जी को हम उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए अपना प्रत्याशी के रूप में घोषित करते हैं।
I am grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister and the leadership has been given this historic opportunity.
One of the experienced politicians, statesmen in our country.
मार्गरेट अलवा जी का नाम पर सहमति से मोड़ उठाई है।
हम सब के तरफ हमने एक कैंडिडेट अनाउंस करने का तय किया, श्रीमती मार्गरेट अलवा।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakir. Today were the elections to choose the 15th President of India, a race between NDA's Draupadi Murmu and the opposition's Yashwant Sinha. Through the day, over 700 parliamentarians, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, voted. While the NDA candidate holds the edge, all was not well in the opposition camp, where several MLAs, including one from the Congress and two from Sharad Pawar's Nationalist Congress party, that is the NCP, claimed on record that they have voted for the NDA candidate. Party whips do not really apply on presidential elections. The decks have always been stacked against Yashwant Sinha, but today he went the extra mile and said that BJP used its money power to ensure the outcome of the presidential elections. Beyond the war words, the votes are in and counting will be held on July 21st and the new president will take oath on July 25th. The NDA's decision to pick Draupadi Murmu has the weight of history behind it, as she is posed to be the first tribal woman to be the President of India. Moreover, it highlights the BJP's political calculation to expand its presence in the east and tribal catchment areas. On the other hand, in the vice presidential fight, the NDA and the opposition have shown their cards, with former West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar, dubbed Kisan Putra by the Saffron Party, emerging as the NDA's candidate, while political veteran Margaret Alva, who has served as governor of multiple states, has emerged as the opposition candidate. Jagdeep Dhankar's rise as the NDA's vice presidential nominee comes hot on the heels of his face-off with Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal since 2019, whereas governor, he repeatedly took on the state government on issues of law and order and human rights, while Mamata Banerjee time and again has spoken out against him as governor and sought to clip his powers in the top office. The two have also tussled over state bills, the most recent one being the bill to oust the governor and make the chief minister the chancellor of state universities, a bill which Jagdeep Dhankar immediately returned. But now that Mr. Dhankar is out of Mamata Banerjee's hair, can the political dynamic shift? Could there be a scenario where Mamata Banerjee backs Jagdeep Dhankar as vice president? Could the NDA and the TMC come to a common understanding over the post of vice president? Or have the last 3 years been so acrimonious that under no circumstances will Mamata Banerjee support the vice presidential bid of her former nemesis? To decode the political dynamics, we are being joined by RP Singh of the BJP, Dr. Syed Nasir Hussain, Member of Parliament of the Congress, Sushmita Dev, Member of Parliament of the TMC, Sanjay Kumar, Professor CSDS, Varun Kumar, a political analyst. Sushmita Dev, the silence of your party supremo and the cautious tone of your party leaders over Jagdeep Dhankar's candidature is being read in multiple ways. It's sending multiple signals. Can the unthinkable really happen?
See, Maria, I can't stop anybody from speculating. That's the nature of things. But I will tell you something. Mamata Banerjee, Honorable Chief Minister of Bengal and our chairperson, has called a meeting on the 21st of July, which is one of our biggest party programs, which is the Shohid Divos, at 4 o'clock, and this matter will be discussed, because not only has the BJP or the NDA announced their candidates, so has the opposition parties. So on the 21st, we'll make our picture clear and what we are going to do. And short of that, I don't think I will definitely not be the one speculating unless I hear what my leader has to say on the 21st.
But Sushmita, one may also say that what is there to be discussed from the point of view that the nature of acrimony and the sheer bitterness that played out between the Chief Minister and the former governor. So if there is a scope of rethinking or a scope of discussion or consideration, is that entering a domain of a possible backing of the vice presidential nominee of the NDA?
You're asking me to speculate what Mamata is thinking right now, which I'm not in a position to do. All I'm telling you, and I'm making it public, that on 21st is a meeting of all members of Parliament. So please wait, and I think the cat will be out of the bag, and you'll be one of the first people to know. I don't think there's anything further I can say on that issue.
All right. RP Singh, is the BJP expecting TMC support?
Well, we are expecting support from all parties.
Party ask them what they are expecting. But clearly, since we have so many votes and we are a important bloc, we are a very important bloc of the opposition, having one of the largest number of members of parliament in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, in the Assembly. It matters what Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of Bengal, wants, and that's due to be discussed on 21st of July.
All right. RP Singh, is the BJP expecting support of Mamata Banerjee? Although when we look at the electoral college of the vice presidential polls, the majority mark is 390 and the BJP alone has 394 without the support of your other allies in the NDA and of course several other political parties which have backed your presidential nominee. So if anything, your numbers are way above, in fact, somewhere above 500.
Well, if Mamata Banerjee can come on board, it's most welcome. And if we can build up toward where more people come together to vote for Dhankar Saab, it will send a very positive message for the opposition and for the ruling party both. And then,
what positive message you're talking about?
Positive message is that Dhankar Saab was the governor of the Bengal, and then he was there for quite long. And Mamata Banerjee is the Chief Minister of Bengal. And then if she supports the outgoing governor of Bengal, it will send a very good message.
But yes, here was the governor who was unlike other governors of other states. There is no other governor who has taken on the Chief Minister so openly, so directly as Mr. Dhankar did with Mamata Banerjee.
Well, that makes it more reasonable, and that makes it more reasonable for Mamata Banerjee to do it. I mean, if she comes and support Dhankar Saab, it will send a bigger message. But also that
it will show her large-heartedness. Is that what you are saying? Okay, you know, it's interesting how the BJP is expecting support from Mamata Banerjee, understanding fully well what Jagdeep Dhankar's tenure in the Raj Bhavan in Bengal actually stood for. Before I bring in Nasir Hussain, let me get a word from Sanjay Kumar and Varun Singh. Sanjay Kumar, will it be almost impossible for anybody to speculate that Mamata Banerjee can back Jagdeep Dhankar?
Very difficult to speculate on this, whether Mamata Banerjee is going to support Dhankar or she is going to oppose Dhankar. But my own sense is that if I read the mind of the politician correctly, I think the kind of tussle which the state has, Mamata Banerjee has faced during her tenure as the Chief Minister from Jagdeep Dhankar, I doubt that she is going to extend her support to Jagdeep Dhankar when he is contesting for the vice presidential post. So I really doubt that Jagdeep Dhankar is going to get support from Mamata Banerjee.
And Varun Singh, what about you? The Chief Minister has in fact blocked the former governor on Twitter. That is the level of bitterness and rancor that is there between the two. If I look at the words that have been used by the governor, he said that the political condition in West Bengal is horrible and frightening. These are very strong words. She had also demanded recall of the governor.
You know, on a lighter note, in order to get rid of him, she might end up supporting so that he becomes the vice president, doesn't come back to West
Bengal. No, but he will become vice president even if Mamata Banerjee doesn't support him.
Absolutely. So she might just show her large-heartedness, which, you could easily guess from the BJP spokesperson, the way he was so casual, we don't care if she supports or not. But,
No,
it
I never
also...
said that. Sorry. I never
No,
said that.
I'm saying...
I said
I
we
know
welcome
you
the
didn't,
support.
but I know, but, the casual
Please.
attitude that comes out is,
No,
we
how
have the
do I make
numbers
it
and
more
we do
formal?
not need
My party
we do not
president
need anyone else's support.
No, I never said so. Please don't put words into my mouth, please. And I
Okay.
never said so. Please don't put words
Okay.
into my mouth. I said is we welcome her support. I rather said we welcome her support. And the reason for is that Mr. Dhankar was the governor of the state. Although there would have been times when there would have been tug of war or trouble between the two. But even then, we are in democracy, sir.
No. He's the only governor who had an open tug of war.
Absolutely,
With the
and not
chief
even
minister.
once did we see
Not
all
once.
this tenure, on his tenure.
I'm
that
sorry.
they were
I'm
on
sorry.
good
Then
terms.
you are forgetting the earlier governor of the Delhi also, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar.
No, but he
That's
did not.
fine.
He was
but
not
he
in the
didn't- he
running
didn't
for
do
the
things.
vice presidential poll. It's a different scheme of things completely
if you're
right now.
comparing- if you're-
Before I bring in other guests, because I want to understand why Yashwant Sinha said what he did this morning, and the response for that will be coming from Nasir Hussain. Sanjay Kumar, if in the name of Draupadi Murmu, there are several firsts that are attached to it. High on symbolism, first tribal president, first president from potential president of, or the president in waiting, if I may say, from the state of Orissa. But here is a selection or nomination which is about political calculation. What do you think is BJP's calculation behind Jagdeep Dhankar for vice president? He was not really in the race. The speculation that was there doing the rounds.
Now, I think a couple of calculations. One, certainly about looking at the Jat vote and look at the way Jagdeep Dhankar is being projected as the Kisan Putra. So trying to appease the Jats, trying to appease the Kisan, the farmers, and also keeping an eye on the elections in Rajasthan. And why Rajasthan has become so important and why Chhattisgarh is going to be so important for BJP, because as we all know, BJP has been, aiming for a Congress Bharat. So Rajasthan is going to be very important. Rajasthan is a Congress government. BJP would like Congress to be defeated and have a BJP government in Rajasthan.
Okay.
So I think these are the three factors: Rajasthan, Jat factor, and Kisan Putra.
Okay.
So all these three things are going to be very crucial for Rajasthan election, as well as crucial in other states as well. So I think that's the strategy of BJP behind putting up Jagdeep Dhankar as the vice presidential candidate.
Okay, Nasir Hussain, thank you for your patience. Today, the presidential nominee of the opposition, that is Mr. Yashwant Sinha, leveled a rather bizarre charge because he doesn't really have evidence for which he should put those evidence out in the public domain rather than leveling this kind of charge, where he has said that it is some kind of money and muscle power which is at play even in these elections. We know how the numbers are stacked. It's there in the public domain. You also understand that these are fights which must be fought because it's high on symbolism. Opposition has to give some kind of opposition to the treasury benches in these kind of elections. But talking specifically about the kind of statements that have been made, Nasir Hussain, by the presidential nominee of the opposition, shouldn't he have been careful?
Maria, thank you for remembering that I am also there on your panel for discussion today. Maybe according to you, it is a bizarre statement. But one thing we shouldn't forget as to what is happening in this country for the past few months and years. How the present government of the center has destroyed Aghadi government in Maharashtra. How they have tried to use central agencies against all opposition leaders. Don't you think there are parties who were in the opposition, have broken the ranks of opposition and supporting the presidential candidate of the ruling party just because of the ED, IT and CBI pressure? Whether it is the BSP, whether it is the Shiv Sena, whether it is the YSRCP.
So you are saying Uddhav Thackeray has some kind of pressure from the ED?
No, please hold on. No, please hold on. Please allow me to speak. So huge sums of money was used to destabilize the Maharashtra government. And just before the presidential election.
I take strong objection.
And Mr. Yashwant Sinha has definitely has sufficient ground to make allegations against the ruling party.
What sufficient ground, sir?
Because they have been doing this. Sufficient ground. What has happened? Don't you know? And has the country not seen as to what has happened in Maharashtra?
JMM, you run an alliance government with JMM in the state of Jharkhand. There was an alliance government of Mahavikas Aghadi with Shiv Sena till a month ago.
How did it destabilize? How did it get destabilized? How did it get destabilized? How many members of the breakaway Shiv Sena have ED cases against them? Is the BSP Supremo not having ED cases against her? Is Mr. Hemant Soren not being haunted there? Is not being hounded there? Is YSRCP leaders not having ED cases? See the kind of politics that is happening. First, all these agencies were used to destabilize. Now they are being used to get votes for the presidential candidate.
Don't you see this also as support? Don't you see this also as support for the first tribal president of India? Why should these leaders be on the wrong side of history?
Maria, there is a political divide in this country. There is an ideological divide in this country. In the past, Mr. K.R. Narayan was a candidate from the Dalit community, from the scheduled caste community. Do you think the people, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the alliance partners of Bharatiya Janata Party voted for K.R. Narayan? Do you think Pratibha Patil was voted by BJP and their alliance partners? Because Pratibha Patil was
But you also have an example of Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, who was supported by Indira Gandhi when she was in opposition. And his election, he was chosen unopposed.
That was a different context. That was a different context, Maria. That was a different context.
RP Singh? RP Singh, respond to Nasir Hussain.
I would say there have been instances of where the opposition parties have rallied around the candidate of the ruling party. Shiv Sena did that, JDU did that, not on more than one occasion. I agree on that. But now specifically in this election, it is the central agencies which is calling the shots and making the opposition parties to vote for the candidate of the ruling party.
RP Singh?
Okay. Can I? Now, by his level of charges, Uddhav Thackeray, Naveen Patnaik, Soren, all of them have voted because of the pressure of ED. Then Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are facing the cases of ED. Shibu Soren and Uddhav Thackeray are not. BJD is not. Naveen Patnaik is not. I never interrupted you, sir. Please, you're such a seasoned man. Please, don't do that.
Okay, go ahead.
You did that.
By your parameter.
Okay, go ahead.
So by your parameter, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi should also support. It's not that. When will you grow up on this? And I give a challenge to Mr. Shiv Sena on this channel itself. Tomorrow morning, you should go to Parliament Police Station, get all those evidence which we have that people have been bribed. He said money power has been used. People have been bribed or money power has been used to buy the votes. That's the one reason. There's a big reason for people not voting for him. The MLAs and MPs, the ruling party MLAs and MPs have voted for BJP, and opposition party MLAs and MPs have voted for Draupadi Murmu. The MLA from Odisha, the Congress MLA from Odisha, a Muslim Congress MLA from Odisha, has said, I'm not going to vote for Shiv Sena. So we know when you speak out of context and say something which is not which you can support, which you can substantiate.
Nasir Hussain, quick response, and then I bring in other panelists. I have just few minutes left on this discussion. Go ahead, Nasir Hussain.
See, what Mr. Yashwant Sinha is saying is that money has been used to destabilize the governments and then get their votes.
No, he said to buy
money
the
has
votes.
Been used,
and
definitely money has been used, and the central agencies have been used. There were cases against all those, most of those people who had gone and sat in Guwahati. There have been ED cases, there have been ED cases against most of these party members.
You have your government, go and file a complaint in the Rajasthan government in the police station. And let this be pursued.
The question is,
why Rajasthan government,
it is all right to have this kind of arguments about other issues. Why delegitimize the election for the top constitutional office in the country? Sushmita Dev. Sushmita Dev now, please. Sushmita Dev.
That's the reason.
Yeah. I can't hear anything.
Yes, Sushmita Dev, go ahead.
I mean, what was the question? I couldn't hear because...
Yes, my question is the charge that has been leveled by Yashwant Sinha over the entire presidential elections. This is the election for the top constitutional office in the country. Why delegitimize it?
No, it's not about delegitimizing it. He is talking about pressure tactics. And let me tell you something. In Bengal, I was here to vote today. There were calls made to TMC MLAs. There were calls made to TMC MLAs offering them what they wanted to cross-vote. Because you see, this election, as we all know, doesn't have a whip. It doesn't have a whip. So actually, it is a much tougher election, and that's why also we call it, it's a vote of conscience.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, BJP's dirty ticks department, they're famous for it. They kept a whole lot of Shiv Sena MLAs in a hotel in Assam. And to topple a government. So if what Yashwant Sinha ji has said, why is it become such a big surprise? Why is it such a big surprise? Everything a presidential candidate can't show you proof. But I am telling you.
Okay, RP Singh, respond to what Sushmita is saying.
Many calls from the BJP.
That TMC MLAs got calls from the BJP.
Definitely.
So no, nothing wrong. I don't know whether they got the call, but there's nothing wrong. I mean, why not seek vote support from any party MLA?
And say what you want as a quid pro quo, that's
no. I'll appreciate, ma'am, I'll appreciate. Give you another challenge. If you have a recording of any such recording with you, go to police and file a complaint. Just putting baseless allegations.
As much as you like. You can shout your guts out.
I'm not shouting. I'm giving you a challenge, ma'am. You can spread lies. You can spread rumors.
Not
if
lies.
You have any recording
it's
of
your
any
reputation.
BJP man asking any
TMC
MLA to support for a quid pro, I give you a challenge. Go file a complaint and tell the police.
Democratically elected government after government, the entire country is watching you horse trade to resort
Who
politics.
horse traded?
You have toppled so many
Uddhav Thackeray can't manage his house. There are people not supporting him.
Keep shouting.
He was running a loot government. He was running a loot government. Whereas ministers were taking 100 crore rupees a hafta. Every 100 crore rupees every week.
Okay. I have just enough time for Varun Singh and Sanjay Kumar. Sanjay Kumar, Varun Singh, you heard both the sides. The charge that was leveled by Yashwant Sinha this morning. But yes, Nasir Hussain. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Maria, I just want to ask a straight question to RP Singh. Can you just tell us why is this all the opposition leaders against whom ED, IT and CBI cases were there? Why have those cases disappeared after they have joined BJP? Whether it is Hemanta Biswa Sarma in Assam, whether it is so many leaders who went from TMC to BJP in Karnataka, in Maharashtra. Where are all those cases? Why is ED, IT and CBI active only in the opposition ruled states? Why is that? Let him explain that to the people of the country. Then it will be very clear from where they are getting the votes, how they are pressurizing
this is a point that is made by opposition repeatedly as to why does BJP almost become like a washing machine again whenever a party, whenever a leader from opposition parties join the BJP. Where do all those cases against them disappear? Varun Singh, coming back to the presidential and vice presidential elections, are you expecting some kind of surprise coming from West Bengal?
To be honest, I'm not, but it may. But, to just answer one small thing about Yashwant Sinha and what Ms. Roy and the Congress spokesperson or MP said, there's a famous saying, Angur khatte hain. Atalji has been saying for a very long time, in defeat, you need to introspect why you lost. And that is what the Congress right now should be doing. They're losing everywhere. They're losing their own people. Their ministers are going incommunicado. And instead of that, they're getting so busy in all these things. I don't know what will be the chances of their candidate during the vice presidential election. And you, instead of making such baseless allegations, I completely agree with RP Singh. If TMC MLAs were contacted, they have a record, then they should just follow the basic legal route. They should go ahead and file a complaint. Why not go to the police station, complain that we were offered money or whatever? It is completely illegal to offer money or to entice people to vote in such a way. Why don't they do it? Because they clearly did not have proof. They knew that the numbers aren't there. In
Sanjay Kumar, final words to you. We are talking about two elections. The polling for one has happened today. Second election will be held also in the next few days. As far as the vice presidential elections are concerned, in the past also we have seen several parties have broken ranks only when the governor of that particular state was chosen. Nitish Kumar is an example. When Ramnath Kovind became the presidential nominee of the NDA. Are you expecting that being a reason for Mamata Banerjee, or because of the rancor, it's very, very far-fetched?
Very difficult to speculate, Maria, but I think both ways, if Mamata Banerjee decides to support Jagdeep Dhankar, that is also will be a surprise, because there has been tussle between the chief minister and the governor during last 5 years. If in spite of that, if Mamata Banerjee decides to support, that will be a surprise. And if Mamata Banerjee decides not to support, that's going to be a surprise, because in the past, as you mentioned, that whenever a governor of a state has been put up as a candidate for the highest post, whether it is for the president or the vice president, there has been a tendency of the governor of the government to leave aside whatever has been the relationship in the past with that governor, and they tend to support that candidate. So whichever way they take a decision, Mamata Banerjee takes a decision.
But Sanjay Kumar, those governors were different and those Raj Bhavans were very different from what we have seen in the context of Bengal. Thank you so much for joining us. Sanjay Kumar, Varun Singh, Sushmita Dev, Dr. Syed Nasir Hussain and RP Singh. Shifting focus to our next debate of a shocking story from Tamil Nadu, where a class 12 student was found dead in her hostel in the Kalakurchi district. The police said at first that the student committed suicide, but her family says she was tortured by her teachers. Violent protests erupted as the girl's family, including locals in the district, demanded action against the school, alleging a plot to brand the death as a suicide. In fact, the autopsy report mentioned multiple injuries and hemorrhage as the cause of death. The police has arrested the school principal, math and chemistry teachers, along with over 270 others in connection with the violence. The case even reached the Madras High Court today, which has ordered another autopsy, and a special team will be formed to probe the violence which rocked the district. Section 144 has now been imposed, but the question remains, did the complaints of this young girl fall on deaf ears? Was she being repeatedly harassed in a school which pushed her to take this extreme step? Why did the police jump to the suicide theory? Was there a cover-up attempt? First, let's see how the story unfolded.
Buses vandalized. Stones pelted. Clashes between police and protesters. Tamil Nadu is tense after a class 12 student was found dead in a hostel in the Kalakurchi district.
This complete building that you're seeing in the visual, in fact, the windows being smacked after the stones were being pelted. The building was set on a fire, which is almost being burnt over there. On the right-hand side of mine, you can see the school buses that were all been set on fire. So, as we learnt, almost 17 school buses were being torched.
While police are claiming the student died by suicide, her family alleges she was tortured by her teachers. The autopsy report mentioned multiple injuries and hemorrhage as the cause of death.
காயம் அதுக்கான அது எதை அந்த மண்டை ரத்தம் ஏன் உடைஞ்சது அதுக்கான ரிப்போர்ட்ல எதுவுமே சொல்லலை சார். எதே சம்மந்தமே இல்லாத சொன்னாங்க. எலும்பு வந்து முறிஞ்சிடுச்சுன்னு பொய் சொல்றாங்க சார். சார் உடம்புல நிறைய நகைக்கீரங்கள் இருந்தது, இங்க காயா இருந்தது எல்லாத்தையுமே மறைக்கப்பட்டிருக்காங்க சார்.
The Madras High Court ordered a second post-mortem and came down heavily on protesters who indulged in violence. The court questioned how the state can be held to ransom. The judge said peaceful protest turning violent suddenly did not appear to be a mere act of provocation, and ordered the constitution of special teams to identify those behind the organised crime. The court also said that police were not under the control of anyone and should enforce the law. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin appealed for calm and promised strict action against those behind the violence.
நடக்கும் எந்த செயல்களாக இருந்தாலும் அவர்கள் சட்டத்தின் முன் நிறுத்தப்பட்டு தண்டிக்கப்படுவார்கள் என எச்சரிக்கிறேன்.
Nearly 200 people have been arrested in connection with the clashes. The deceased student's chemistry and math teacher, as well as 3 school management officials, including the principal, have also been nabbed. But is there more than what meets the eye? Is there an attempt to cover up the truth?
And joining me on the show, Khushbu Sundar, Suman C. Raman, Prabhakar Tamil Rasai, Sendhil Anamalai, and also Sumaya Yadav. Sendhil, I'm going to begin with you. School's insensitivity, I would say, has been on display. The school secretary, Shanti, in fact, put out that video blaming the deceased student's mother for the violence on Sunday. She also made some very serious allegations against the mother, alleging that she incited the mob by spreading fake news. How insensitive can the school be? Sendhil, if you can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear me on this?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Fine. Basically, this is one of the atrocious events which has happened very recently with respect to the education sector. Before I move ahead on this, I just would like to put a word over here. Presently, the entire education system, which is being taken as commercial sector, and especially if you really look at that, either it has been running with the politicians or either one of the missionary which has been running across as a profit mode. That's the biggest flaw in the entire education system, which I just would like to put across over this into this board itself. And if you see that, why these kind of things are happening, it's majorly the whole entire system, whether it can be even the NEET, if you really look at that, there are a lot of suicide which are all happening over here. Whole thing, which is, I felt it, this is a purely a commercial way, which is goes across in the entire education system itself. I really wanted to look at that. How do you change the education system where this can be more about like how it was there about 15-20 years before, or even about 50 years before, how it was there, which is not on the profit motto. The motto is something now presently what is happening now. It's a purely how I can make a profit on each and every child. This child can be a commercial value to me. That's what the education system is working on that.
Okay. Suman C. Raman, I was looking at certain reports which highlighted the fact that there was a lot of animosity towards the school management also because of their fee structure and a perceived high-handedness in their behavior towards the surrounding community.
Maria, I think we need to wait for the investigation to be completed. Unfortunately, allegations are being made by both sides, and the police have not been very clear in their communication. In fact, even the DGP, in the statements that he has been making, has sort of, at one point he said, until now, we do not think that, we have not come across any kind of evidence against the school and so on. So I think that and even earlier, 4 days people were protesting, and yet the issue did not, raise the alarm bells anywhere within the police force. It was only on the 4th day that the violence actually broke out. Until then, there had been protests happening the previous day also. So I think that this is an intelligence failure part of the state police. And it is also, first of all, who are those people? You don't go for an ordinary peaceful protest carrying a crowbar or carrying huge implements that are used to break down buildings. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not normal. clearly, I don't for a moment believe that this is just something just happened. There are clear-cut videos where, the vandalism is certainly not that of an average lay protester.
But
clearly,
Suman C. Raman, again, the question is that this particular school has had incidents of suspicious death. Sumaya Yadav, 2 suspicious deaths which are being investigated. The investigation is underway. We cannot forget that in the context of this particular school. So there is foul play, if anything, which is being highlighted by the family, and they managed to have that kind of support from the other locals as well.
Yes, I do agree on this topic, but let me question you one thing. Can we take the law in our hands? First thing, because we have learned and we follow the Indian law that would say that we should not take any law into the hands. And how could people do it? And who are those people? That is to be identified. There is a code, there is a law, there is a government who supervises and governs all those people who, does the mistake. Definitely the people who are into this must be punished, no doubt about it. But at the same time, if this happens to one school, no doubt tomorrow it might happen to other school, and I don't know whether it is really genuine people doing or the social anti-activists or whatever it is. So that's what
But Sumaya, the question is that the school has to ensure that the family feels that the justice is being delivered here, and that they do not, the family members themselves, Khushbu, are raising questions around the circumstances of her death, discussing minute details of the incident. They're questioning the involvement of the school management, and they're demanding action against them. The fact is that the student was found dead on July 13 near a hostel on the school premises, and they are also questioning the suicide note. So if the family is not satisfied with the nature of investigation, then they have all right to question, and that is the reason why the Madras High Court has gone ahead and ordered the second autopsy.
I completely agree with you. You have to, I can imagine the plight of a parent.
They need closure.
They go to find their daughter being, no more. She's dead. She's gone. The pain that they go through is unexplainable. You cannot even describe the loss in words. The school, there has been prior allegations against them that is still under investigation. Now this, there has been a huge lapse, the intelligence lapse on part of the police, but at the same time, we also need to understand that we cannot take law in our hands. There has been some incidents where we have seen that there were Facebook uploading where they said that it's, you need to gather in such place, you need to protest against it. You cannot, inside the public, you cannot ask for violence, you cannot provoke them and say it's fine to indulge in any kind of a violence. The girl needs justice. But I would also like to highlight that this is not the first time we have seen a child who has, killed themselves by suicide. I think we have seen it in the past. Why is that we always fail to have a cell from every government where we say the child should feel anonymously, they can call a particular cell and say that I am being harassed, I am being assaulted, I am being tortured, and I need help against one particular school. Why is that we cannot form a kind of a committee which helps these kids? Because I'm sure the child has taken such a strong step, it really breaks, because I'm a mother, and it really breaks my heart to see every time something like this comes up. And it makes me wonder, when are we going to stop? So why is that every government fails to build a cell? We are talking about education system. We are talking about the changes. We are talking about what it used to be 50 years back. Yesterday, everything is commercial. I'm not denying that. But who wants to go to a government school? Even a normal, a very, very common person wants a child. It's a prestige issue that my child goes to a private school. But I am saying that the standard of schools have to be higher, on a higher standard, and the government should take this in consideration as to how we can protect our children. And this case needs to be investigated.
Yes, it started as families concerned who were questioning foul play by the school's management. Then several WhatsApp groups titled Justice for the Deceased Student were formed. Several people started joining these WhatsApp groups.
We need to stop looking into WhatsApp. The forwards of the WhatsApp, they're the worst criminals.
Yes, I'm just trying to understand that how did it take this kind of form where what started as genuine concern of the parents and relatives took a violent turn in matter of 3 days?
Yeah, Maria, I think the administration should also, take its share of the blame. If the violence had broken out on the first day itself, yes, you could say that, it was unanticipated. 3 days, they protest outside, they ask for justice, they ask for some action on the part of the district administration and the police. Only when nothing happens, on the 4th day, the whole thing, they go berserk. But I think, again, that is completely unacceptable. But if had the administration acted more promptly on the second day, maybe, communicating clearly, look, there is a problem. There was a suicide note which was left, and did they do the forensic analysis? Find out whether the suicide note was genuine. The other issue is there is the grievance that the mother, in particular, had against the institution. Now, the police could have intervened and could have tried to assuage whatever feelings. Obviously, the lady is going to be distraught. She's lost her child, and so it is incumbent on the administration to express their
so rather than being insensitive, the kind of statements that have been made by the administration.
The problem, what led to this completely unacceptable violence to a large extent is the fact that 3 very crucial days were allowed to elapse without any significant action being taken, despite the protests at that point of time being peaceful. I think that is where the administration should have been a little more careful. And, the fact that it did not make it to the headlines until then was also perhaps, there's a very friendly media for the state government, so they don't put anything that can embarrass the state government, will not attract much attention in the local media.
But
the media highlighted
Sumansi Raman, it's heartbreaking to look at that alleged suicide note. What we are also told is that the rumors started circulating about the management of the school, that they have had some kind of history of sexually assaulting female students over the years.
Maria, there were 2-3 problems. There were video footage that I don't know how authentic they are, but they said that a number of used condoms were found in the campus of the school premises and somewhere around the management's room or whatever. That was one issue which got a lot of people very angry. Now, there's been no explanation for that.
But Sumansi Raman, what has happened now? While the entire focus is now on violence, rather than understanding that if it is death by suicide, what is the reason? Is there a cover-up? Is there a foul play? The question about the death of that 17-year-old, around that, all those questions are not answered anymore.
Maria, just one quick point, Maria. There is a fundamental problem. There are, this is one particular very, very sad case. There have been 6 or 7 custody deaths. And in many of these cases, the police have said that, they suddenly started having seizures and this and that. So the credibility of the state police in the last 1 year has taken a big hit. That is the problem.
How will associations such as yours ensure that the family feels that they are getting justice? It is about the family now.
Yes, ma'am. So here I would really tell that it is a mournful situation. I am a mother too, so I understand, the mother's situation. But there is 2 points here. One is about the family. Yes, the family themselves claim that the child is suicided, whether it is, harassment, torture, all these things are into justification, and the investigation is a process. Similarly, I have a problem about, school having all these, the buses is vanished and everything. And who did it? When I see the video there on the YouTube or whatever it is, the videos which is playing, I cannot see a crowd which is kind of relatives or a friend circle. It is feel like a different scenario behind this. So both has to be investigated. And from the school association, we would really support the parent to get the justice, and whoever it is, they will be punished. And we always support the government, always support all the children throughout the Tamil Nadu.
But what about the school management?
Of course, the management have to, accept the fact, and they should be punished. And the law is there to take care. And we will definitely support the parent. In fact, we will be personally meeting them and addressing what is the situation. We will also try to support the legal people and also see to it that justice is given. No doubt about it. At the same time, I would really see to it that even the people who have taken this action also must be punished, because today it happens because public property is the, safety of the public property is a right of a citizen.
Yes, vandalism cannot be justified, I agree, but the real question is about justice for this 17-year-old. Vandalism seems to have become the main focus now. It is not about her story. It's not about the real reason behind death. That investigation, perhaps now, Khushbu Sundar, has taken a back seat.
And that is what is worrying me, Maria, because we are focusing more on the vandalism, we are focusing more on the violence, we are focusing more on the right as to who instigated this, who provoked this, and who are the people behind this. The investigation is more on that. The focus should be what pushed this girl to commit suicide? What pushed this young child to take such a drastic step? The justice should be there. This should be the secondary part. Yes, violence is not accepted. Yes, the people who are involved, the crowd of 2000, all of them are not relative. There's somebody who's instigated this. There are people who have provoked this or said that it's fine to vandalize public property or to burn down the buses and the cars and probably break down the school. The anger is justified, but this is not justified as to from where did this 2000 crowd came in. All of them are not the villagers. Yes, looking at the videos, you understand that they are not from the same village, but then probably from somewhere nearby. And why have they indulged? Is this a ploy to move away from actual problem, that is the suicide of this girl? Is that why this was created? Now, this is what we need to investigate, but not at the cost of what caused the death of this young child. That has to be the focus here, Maria.
Yes, absolutely. And Sumansi Raman, when we look at these visuals, the concern, of course, is an intelligence failure. The nature of this gathering, how did so many people all of a sudden gather outside school? And they seem to be prepared for the large-scale arson that played out.
They came very clearly with, with fairly lethal equipment. Yes. I mean, I don't want to use the word weapon, but they came with equipment which was quite lethal. It is not common for people to assemble for peaceful protests with carrying crowbars and and stuff which is used to knock down buildings and so on. Look, the issue is, Maria, the incident spanned the better part of 3.5 hours almost. And had the police noticed that, look, why are these people carrying all this stuff to come for a peaceful protest? The rapid action force, which was pressed into service somewhere post noon, they were the ones who came in and they managed to take the situation under control in a couple of hours. Maybe they could have been called a lot earlier.
Yes.
Instead of the local police who were trying to, who have just pretty much outnumbered by this huge mob.
Yes, who instigated?
And many of the policemen.
Who instigated the people? The larger conspiracy behind it, but the focus should be certainly on justice for the 17-year-old.
Yes.
Was there high-handedness on part of the management? What went wrong? Was it about the fee structure as is being highlighted? Was she being pressurized for marks? What really went wrong for a young girl to take her life? That is the real nature of investigation that should be carried out by the Tamil Nadu police. Thank you so much for joining us, Khushbu Sundar, Sumansi Raman, Senthil and Sumaya Yadav. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Lots more news and updates on the other side.